no birdbane mask? Said no one. Nobody likes the big swings anymore, Shoemaker. Trying to make some art here. Oh, do what you always do. Okay. But I am going to start with a complaint because, obviously we're living in a time of sort of heated political rhetoric, and I do believe that maybe a few people who have different feelings about the election will wander into the YouTube comments. Faux jackals, if you will. Wanting to take a victory lap at my expense. But there was a comment that really stung, that I feel crossed the line of good taste. But I'd like to read that to you now. Someone wrote, "Would you like some cheese with that wine?" And at first, you know what breaks my heart? At first, I was happy. Who doesn't appreciate the offer of free cheese? Then I look, wine, spelled with an H. We're all still Americans. I mimed a sound bath like this. Was told you run the striker along the outside. Not for the first time, I confused a sound bath with tableside guacamole. $1 million idea for any Mexican restaurant that wants it. Guacamole that makes the sound bath noise. Someone wrote in, and again, we were talking about sound baths as something a Bryn Mawr professor would protest with. You all remember. Don't think the corrections crew also comes to a closer look. They're just watching everybody. In what context? So somebody wrote in, sound baths are more Sarah Lawrence. Bryn Mawr would roll in a statue of Athena and give a PowerPoint presentation. I can't verify the veracity of any of that, but I love the Dennis Miller level of specificity. At Bryn Mawr, they're gonna roll in a statue of Athena and do a PowerPoint presentation. Meanwhile, at Oberlin, they won't let you dissect frogs unless you get consent. Talked about $1,000 Biden bucks last Thursday's Closer Look. The graphic for $1,000 Biden bucks was this. As to why 1,000 was represented as 100, the man isn't even in office yet. He's fixed inflation. Bonsai is a battle cry you make before you attack someone. Bonsai is a tree planted in a shallow container. As for what you yell when you attack someone with a tiny tree, your guess is as good as mine. Got to get all the sips in I couldn't do because of the mask. We joked that the general from the General Car Insurance commercials could be the next Secretary of Defense. I was told the Secretary of Defense is a civilian job. So in order to take it, the general would have to retire, would have to resign his post. He could be a Joint Chiefs of Staff, but he could not be Secretary of Defense. And I guess they did approach the general about his willingness to resign his post. And I guess when they did it, it became fairly heated. I guess the general said, we live in a world that has low car insurance rates. And those rates have to be guarded with men and guns. Men with guns. Who's gonna do it? You? Lieutenant Weinberg? Based on the line read, not sure Colonel Jessup was a friend of the Jews. Everybody's thought I was trying to say communion wine, and it sounded like I said community wine. What if I meant community wine? Franzia? A lot of questions, a lot of guesses about who was in the Birdbane mask last week. I will not reveal. I will just say an incredible actor. I don't think you would quite believe who it was. An incredible actor. Give you a hint. Great actor, still human. If you cut them, there will be blood. Yeah. I swear to you, in the name of the Father. If I'm lying, you could have my left foot. It was the Hawk Tuah girl. We had a joke about the fireplace behind Trump and Biden, and Bays wrote a joke about how it looked like it was started by Mrs. O'Leary's cow. Well, Bays has stepped in it once again. The Chicago fire, which happened in 1871, the Chicago Tribune, 50 years later, 1921. Sorry, that's for Shoemaker. So do the math. So 1921, Michael Ahern, who was the police reporter who wrote the original article, admitted 50 years later he had just made up the story about Mrs. O'Leary's cow. It was just fake, and the sad thing about it is, you know, Mrs. O'Leary had to live the rest of her life as a pariah. It led to a lot of anti-Irish immigrant sentiment among Chicagoans. And, you know, I was shocked, obviously, to read this all. And I brought this information to Bays and laid it out to him. And you know what he said to me? And? So we're reaching a point where, like, there's not, like, a lot of corrections anymore. And, like, I want to keep doing it every week, but there's a chance, like, if it just feels too thin, I might just, like, try to double them up. But I don't want, you know, it's not personal. It's just, you know, there's a certain level of quality. With that said, we're not done yet. We mentioned that Trump's cabinet was going to be like ferrets on ketamine. And someone wrote in, ferrets on ketamine wouldn't be able to do anything. Ketamine's an anesthetic, so it had just turned them into floppy, confused noodle animals. Well, I wasn't just going to take your word for it, so we got some ferrets, and we gave them ketamine. And you might be mad, but who are you going to complain to? Oh, PETA. Anyway, we're very excited, because not only did we give them ketamine, but we trained them to do a circus performance. So please, for the very first time, welcome the Ketamine Brothers Flying Ferret Circus. An extra cameraman had to stay. So, You know, what is it now? I don't know. Are we still having fun? I think so. You're at your desk and it's like 1 in the afternoon and you feel like, this is pretty thin, and then somebody writes the ketamine comment and, you know, I'm just proud to work at a place where I can write Ellen and say, I need 3 ferrets and a bunch of circ. And she pulls it off, and here we are. It's fun. We're having a good time. We're gonna go back, and this is just for Emmy stuff, because the last one was so short. I'm worried about the average of a correction being too short for Emmy consideration. So Alex is just gonna, I'm gonna leave. Alex is gonna cut back to the ferret circus, and we're gonna let it roll for like, God knows how long.